through life's hard, dark, and difficult days. So before we really get started on the topic, I would just wanted to take a minute and remind each of you to have compassion with yourself as we talk about this topic, because sometimes it's uncomfortable and we might have thoughts as I go along. If I trigger something in you that says, oh, I did that wrong, I didn't say that right, just try and remember and have some compassion for yourself that you did the very best that you could. You know, we know what we know at the time. And we do the very best that we can. And truly, there is no one perfect way to respond to or support someone you care about when they lose someone to suicide. But today, I hope to present some ideas and some ground rules. And these ground rules come from a blog that was written by Megan Devine. She's a licensed clinical counselor, and it's called How to Help a Grieving Friend, 11 Things to Do When You're Not Sure What to Do. And I really liked what she had to say, so I'm taking her ground rules and kind of applying it to my experience with grief as well. So the first thing she wrote was, be willing to witness searing, unbearable pain. And I want you to know too that if you have questions as we go along or something pops up in your mind, it's okay to type that in the chat box and Kim will moderate those things for me. But I picked this image here because I really feel like it represented empathy and being willing to really witness some unbearable pain. And to me, empathy is really human connection. And to be connected to someone, words aren't always necessary. And that's why I liked this picture. As you can see the elephant just holding the umbrella. There aren't words being said, but you can see that it's a really dark day for that cat. And so that's why I picked that to kind of go along with this. But also empathy sounds like I'm here and I love you. And if you have any comments about empathy, that would be, if you have anything you want to say about empathy, that's great. Grief belongs to the griever. And grief is a very personal experience, and it belongs to the person experiencing it. And I always say that, you know, there's no wrong or right way to grieve, except there's a couple of exceptions that I think are important, that harm of self or harm of others. And that in itself is another conversation, and there's no time frame. I still am experiencing grief, and we're 2 years out. It's something that I think will always be a part of my life now. And after Alex passed, I was able to really kind of allow people into my life and, you know, bring the meals and do all the things that they felt to do. And after Trevin passed, I really kind of closed the doors to my life because it was super like overwhelming and just, that's just kind of what I needed. And neither way was wrong, but it is what I did. And the whole family grieved in very different ways, and we still experiencing that grief differently. Another thing that Megan points out is just don't pretend you know how the griever feels or give advice that the griever should be doing something different or feeling differently, because none of us really know how another person feels. We can connect with them because we have experiences in our own lives that we may know what something like this might feel like, but that's the important part, is, you know, connecting with that within yourself and then letting the griever experience it however they need to, and following the griever's lead in how they need it. And people were super good about giving me and my family the space that we needed through this grieving process. Another ground rule is stay present and state the truth. Statements about past and future aren't helpful when the present for your loved one is so painful. We really can't focus on the past, and we're really just generally stuck in the present and the pain that we're feeling. And so things like it may or may not be better later. I mean, or a good past is not a fair trade for the pain that your loved one is going through now. And for someone that has lost a loved one to suicide, the generalized statements of like they are in a better place are not comforting, because for me, the only thing that I could think about then, or even still now, is that how bad I want them here in this human world, whether it's better or worse. Um, so I think that, sticking with the truth, if this hurts, I love you, I'm here, is such good advice. Like, that was some of the best things that were given to us, is, people that were able to just say, I love you and I'm here for you whenever you're ready.
Lisa, your mic keeps going in and out.
Does it?
Yeah, there's like an echo.
Okay. See if I can fix that. Okay, tell me if that's better.
It is right now. I'll let you know if it starts going in and out again.
Okay, thanks, Kim. So this slide talks about not trying to fix the unfixable. Your loved one's loss cannot be fixed or repaired or solved. And, I wish that I would have had a magic wand to fix this, but it's here now is not something that can be fixed or repaired. And the pain itself cannot be made better. And during that first year, I really, truly had some family and friends that could really just sit with me and try not to fix it, let me feel what I needed to feel and experience. And if you can do this for your loved one, that truly is the best gift that you can give them. It all, for me, goes back to empathy. And I found a quote, I like quotes, but I found a quote by Khalil Gibran. He's a Lebanese American writer, and he stated, "May there be such a oneness between us that when one weeps, the other tastes salt." And I just feel like that's such a relief for a friend when we just let them experience their pain in the way that they need to, and that they just know that we are right there for them. And then this ground rule says this is not about you. I totally understand that being with someone in pain is not easy. With my experience in hospice, that was one of the things. It's not easy to sit with somebody that's hurting and in pain. And so, because, you will have your own emotions, such as anger, fear, and guilt, and you may also feel ignored or unappreciated, because the griever or your loved one just really can't show up for their part of the relationship. And so just really try not to take it personally, and find a support group for people that can support you too, because it's important that, you as the person who's helping someone is supported. And I had friends that, I talked to, it was probably a year out, that, they did talk about feeling some of this, like, especially when I really distanced myself from everyone, that they might have felt not appreciated, or just that I wasn't there, and I just couldn't be. And so, but they understood, and they were always very supportive. And so I think that is an important thing too. And another thing is to anticipate and don't ask. You not say, call me if you need anything. My experience with this was that I was pretty numb and I really truly was unable to reach out or to call if I needed something. And for one thing, I didn't really know what I needed. And if I did know, figuring out who to call for that and then actually picking up, making that phone call to ask was truly beyond my capacity or interest at the time. And so people did anticipate my needs. Meals were dropped off, things were left on my porch. And I knew prayers were being offered all over the world. And I am forever so grateful for, all of those anticipated acts of kindness people offered me. So do make concrete offers. Like, I will be there at 5 p.m. on Tuesday to bring dinner. I can just leave it on the porch if you'd like. Or I will stop by each morning at 8:30 and take your dog for a walk. Whatever their needs might be that they might need some help with. And then when you make those offers, just, it's important to be reliable and to do those things. It's going to be quick. Is there anybody that has any comments or questions at this time?
Not yet. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've heard the part about not trying to take away their pain, don't try to make it better. And so I'm kind of left with what do you say? Just, I'm so sorry. And there's nothing else to say.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes just your presence, sometimes just that hug, just that I love you. And just being there. And that is uncomfortable. I know it's uncomfortable because we feel like we need to say something. But in instances like this, it truly is some of the best things that, may have been said were just, hey, I love you. And when you're ready to talk, or if you want to talk, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Catherine's asked, can a concrete offer be in the form of a question like, is it okay if I bring you dinner?
Yes, I think that, and, a question of, is it okay if I bring you dinner is good. And just, if they say yes, then, hey, great, I will bring it, is it okay if I bring it this day at this time? Because there are a lot of people who want to bring that meal. It's kind of part of our culture, right? Like when people are hurting, people have babies, when people, good or bad things happen, we like to take meals in and so yeah, making sure that somebody else isn't, bringing it at that time, and knowing that if it's not within the first week, it's still okay because they're going to need help for a while.
Okay, perfect. That looks like all the questions we have right now.
Okay. The next ground rule we're talking about is do the recurring things. Lessen the burden of normal life requirements. Do things like shoveling snow, bringing in the mail, things that are just recurring life requirements, taking the garbage out, recycling bins to the curb. One of the things that was done for us was lawn mowing. That was done on a weekly basis for the whole, summer following our losses, which was super appreciated. And also another thing that was done is with our grandbabies was, people were willing to help watch them for a few hours. And I think that's really important, especially if the loss is within a family that has small children. It's hard for moms to grieve when they're trying to take care of their families. So I think that's something really important to, ask if you can do, is take care of the younger ones if it's a family that has younger ones. So this one says, don't do anything that's irreversible, like laundry or cleaning the house, unless you check first. And the reason that is there is because if it's a family member that was living at home at the time, neither of my sons were. But let's say the shirt they wore the day before, you haven't washed it, and that's something that you're hanging on to because you want to remember their scent. So I think that's why that one's there, is that if it's a cup they drank out of, it was their last hot chocolate or coffee or whatever they chose to drink, that family member might not want that washed yet. So be aware of those types of things. Things that seem small may be really big to the person who has lost their loved one. So that's why that one's there. And giving that support in just small, ordinary ways that are tangible evidences of love. This one, ground rule, is tackle projects together. Offer assistance with difficult tasks and follow through. This was important in those first, days of trying to arrange for funeral arrangements and viewings and all of that. And I did have some friends that gathered around to help with that. And, I was able to gather what I wanted. And then I just was able to hand that task off to them. And they did a beautiful job decorating the viewing and service area and went above and beyond and really provided refreshments and things like that I would not have been able to do at that time. So following your loved ones lead on that is important too. And just remember that your presence alongside them goes a long way. It's super powerful and important to just know that that person's there and that we can lean on those people. Run interference, be a gatekeeper. And I think this is really important. And it was important in my family because so many people wanted to give their condolences right away. And that can sometimes be pretty overwhelming. And my brother played a key role in this and sheltering my family and helping us in that way. He gave us privacy and gave us the opportunity to catch our breath and not feel like we were living inside a fishbowl. He called my boss and he called my family, our family members as much as he could. And that was really helpful. So if you are that gatekeeper and you can help organize that part of the outside world and the well-wishers, because we need that support, but we also need to be able to be sheltered a little bit too. And remember that there is plenty of time to be able to show your support, and even just from the outside of a text or a message, if you can't personally be there, and they're not allowing personal visits, like I really wasn't after our second son passed. Just the support in text or messaging helped a lot. So just keep that in mind, that there are, we are going to need support and love in the months and years to come. And so if you are that gatekeeper, that is really something that was really helpful for me. Educate and advocate. So when others ask for information about, your loved one and how things are going, and I would be careful in giving out a lot of details without making sure it's okay. And then trying to normalize grief. And it gives some examples here that are pretty good. They have better moments and worse moments and will for quite some time. And if it's been some time like it has for us now, grief never really stops. It's something you carry with you in different ways. And this is so true that we could have a really good day one day, or I personally could have a really good day one day, and the next day something would remind me or something would hit me, and that day might not be as good. So it really never stops. And so just be aware of that and know that they are working out everything that they need to work out in their own way and time, and that is really okay. And then remember, an intense loss changes every detail of a person's life. And this just happened recently with my daughter. Facebook is really great about pulling up memories, and she saw a picture of our last horse ride with Alex before he was deployed in Korea. And she said at that picture, I look back at this picture and hardly recognize myself anymore. Because that person in the picture is so different than how I see myself now. I'm completely a different person. And that is so true. This changes you, and an intense loss changes every detail of a person's life forever. And I truly love and appreciate the people who still support and advocate for me and my family. Remember, when someone we love is grieving, it's hard to know what to do or say to serve them, because like I said earlier, that grief really makes people uncomfortable sometimes because we want to say the right thing and we worry about doing the right thing. And we're worried about doing the wrong thing, but doing nothing doesn't feel right either. So because grief is so personal, and in the beginning there is so much pain and numbness, the griever may not even be able to put one foot in front of the other. I know I have days like that where I just, didn't want to, couldn't make myself move. So the things that we need love and support, and we also need time. So I like this slide, just showing up, saying something, doing something is better than nothing. And stand beside your loved one and witness their pain without flinching or turning away. Be willing to not have the answers, especially in suicide. I don't have the answers either, and I don't expect anyone else to have those answers for me either. Listen, be there, be present, and most importantly, be love. And just remember that try not to feel hurt if your loved one shuts you out or seems disinterested in help. But like I've said, just let them know you are there for them whenever they are ready to be able to let you in or to accept what you are offering. Is there any questions or comments?
We do have a comment. I'm not sure how to say her first name, but last name's Hanson. It says, nothing but love and respect for Mrs. Mitchell, one of the strongest mothers I know.
Thank you so much.
And that's it right now. Unless anybody else wants to speak up, go for it.
Some things that I've personally thought about as I prepared for this, invitations. I know I had some family members that weren't sure if they should invite our family to different things, whether it was family functions, maybe it would be too much for us, maybe, during the holidays and all of that. And I think invitations are good, knowing without having expectations. Like, yes, go ahead and invite, but don't have an expectation that they're going to come. Just give an open invitation of this is an invite. If you want to come, that's great. If you don't, we understand. And I think it's kind of hard for, family members to know what to do in that situation too. But we were invited to some things that we just couldn't go to. And it's okay. But yeah, I think that inviting your loved one to participate in things is good. I don't know and if they accept, great. If they don't think they can, that's totally good too. Knowing that when you make that invite. And I guess another thing that came to my mind was just I've had a lot of people, they have things going on in their life, they have losses, and they start to tell me about it, and then they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm telling you this. Your loss is, way worse than mine." And it's like I want to be there for other people too, and there's no comparisons in losses. Your loss is your loss, and mine is mine, and so I still wanted, maybe I wouldn't have been able to within the first year or whatever, but now it's more, yes, I want to reach out and I want to help people. And it doesn't, I'm not in the comparison game because other people's losses are painful too. And so not comparing losses, not approaching your loved one or someone who's down the road with a loss is okay too. It's, I want to be able to support other people in their losses as well. And no apologies are needed when we reach out to each other for help and support. I want to be able to pay it forward as well.
Yeah, McKenna wrote, this even happens within marriages and family. You can invite a family or spouse grieving, but still don't have expectations of them coming or not. And then Shirley wrote, love that. No comparisons and losses. Each one is unique, and each person's experiencing the grief is unique.
I agree. That was, with those statements, thank you for sharing. My last slide here is kind of taking us back around full circle to empathy, because I think it's such an important part of any loss, any grief, is having people show empathy. And empathy is just feeling with people. And I love this image of just hand holding and how, there's not necessarily words going on with that as well, but just reaching out and holding somebody's hand in a very vulnerable time can speak words without even speaking them. And if there's no other comments or questions, I wanted to end a little bit light because I do realize that this is a heavy topic and one that's not always a comfortable topic. But in the last couple of years, I've really found Brene Brown, who's one of my favorite people now and who has helped me with a lot of the things that I've been going through. And she has a speech, and somebody has animated it, but it's on empathy versus sympathy. So if there aren't any other comments, questions, I'm going to go ahead and play this, and then I'll turn it back to you, Kim.
Sounds perfect.
Hopefully this works.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy: perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth, staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, I'm down. I know what it's like down here and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. At least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Okay, I'm trying to get back to you. So if there are any.
Does anybody else have any comments or questions that they would like to ask Lisa before we end?
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
Just thanks for sharing your story with us and for teaching us.
Oh, thank you for being here too. I appreciate you being here.
Yes, I just also want to tell Lisa, thank you again for coming and sharing this with us. Like you said, hard topic to have. I remember being in high school and a really good friend, her twin sister committed suicide in high school, and how hard it was at that age. And back then they didn't talk a lot about it. And I think it's important that we discuss these and know how to best handle them when people are grieving in different ways. So thank you again, Lisa, for joining us today and everybody else. And make sure you come next week. We'll be talking with a service panel on global youth service for our youth, which is so important to get our youth involved in doing service and other things. So thank you all again for coming. And thank you again, Lisa, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. Thank you for all being here.